Good afternoon and welcome to the Cook Center Luncheon and the 15th anniversary of the Gail and Bill Cook Center for Entrepreneurship. I'm Eric Coyne, Chancellor of Ivy Tech Community College Bloomington, and it is an honor to be here today with so many passionate business leaders, entrepreneurs, and supporters of Ivy Tech. So give yourselves all a round of applause. Thank you. We are delighted to have Governor Mitch with us today as our keynote speaker. Thank you, sir, for being here today. Thank you also to Mayor Kerry Thompson and from Senator Todd Young's office, Diane Powell. Thank you both for your continued support of Ivy Tech, and Diane, please send Senator our best. Here's today's plan. I have a few remarks to highlight the past 15 years, and then I will pre-introduce Steve Ferguson. And then I'll invite Dr. Sue Elsperman to the stage to introduce our keynote speaker, Governor Daniels. Following Governor Daniels' remarks, Steve will moderate a Q&A with the governor. So here we go. I know you're all here to hear Governor Daniels and not me, but I wasn't born yesterday. I am my father's son. But you don't often get a chance to celebrate 15 years. You don't often get a chance to celebrate your folks and brag about them a little bit. We have that Hoosier pride where we kind of let it go under the radar, but I did live in DC for a while, so I'm going to throw that out the window and I'm going to brag. So here we go. Starting a business is hard. It requires support, resources, and the occasional pep talk. And that's exactly what the Gail and Bill Cook Center for Entrepreneurship provides our community's entrepreneurs. And I know this firsthand because I came to them when I was starting my business. The Cook Center is a force multiplier for our community. Founded in 2010, the Cook Center was designed to provide aspiring entrepreneurs with the practical resources they need to take action. And it does just that. Its origins date back to a grassroots effort to find a meaningful way to honor the Cook family's legacy. Ivy Tech's chancellor at that time, the legendary John Weikart, saw the potential in an entrepreneurial center of excellence, and with a generous birthday gift to the Cooks from Steve and Connie Ferguson, this vision became reality. But visions are just that, without the right people to see them through. And although we joke a lot about John's decision making, truth be told, yeah, you all know where this is going. John hired the right guy in Steve Bryant to be the founding executive director. Steve has brought this vision literally to life. Where is Steve? Probably working. There he is. He's hiding in the back. The Cooks believed in removing barriers and getting ideas to market quickly, a philosophy best captured by their famous mantra, ready, fire, aim. And the Cook Center continues that spirit today by enabling businesses to get their ideas and products to market quickly. But the Cooks were not reckless in their mantra. So we spend quite a bit of time over at the Cook Center helping a lot of businesses and entrepreneurs aim just a little bit better than what they were doing. And with entrepreneurship at its core, our team at the Cook Center led the way in developing and launching Ivy Tech's first ever entrepreneurial studies courses and certificates program right here on the Bloomington campus. We later championed that program through the Indiana Commission for Higher Education, and since then we've empowered hundreds of students to pursue their dreams, not only in our community, but across the state. Because that program was eventually adopted statewide, and now Ivy Tech's Garitoni School of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which was launched just a few years ago, continues to expand, ensuring entrepreneurial education remains at the heart of our Ivy Tech mission statewide. Some of our students are here, and alumni are here with us today. You get a chance to speak with them, or you got a chance to visit the pop-up shop. outside, you can see their passion, you know the great work and the excellence that's happening right here. So if you're our student or you're an Ivy Tech alum, please give a wave. Wave back to me. There we go. Since its launch 15 years ago, the Cook Center has played a critical role in shaping our region's entrepreneurial landscape. In 2013, we united entrepreneurs and support organizations to create the first entrepreneurial ecosystem initiative report and action plan, which helped lay the foundation for the mill. And its small business programming, thanks to funding for the Community Foundation of Bloomington and Monroe. Our Bloomington campus serves as a regional host for the Indiana Small Business Development Center, offering free advising and resources to over 500 entrepreneurs annually. And you don't have to be affiliated with Ivy Tech. That's for everyone in our region. We cover business plans, financing, market research, and more. In partnership with the ISBDC and IU's Kelley School of Business, we launched the HOPE Project, assisting 900 small businesses in transitioning to digital operations during COVID-19. And we've shared our expertise worldwide, teaching in China, Croatia, and Ethiopia. And we've been recognized for all this work. In fact, you guys wanted a national championship brought to Bloomington? We have done that. Last year, we were named the National Entrepreneurial Community College of the Year by the National Association of Community Colleges for Entrepreneurship. Many congrats go out to Steve and his team, and Sue-Ann Graham, the chair of our entrepreneurship program, for her efforts in bringing that to reality. We secured $70,000 in Macy grants to fund student and alumni business ventures and launch a cyber training program to support our computer science students. We partnered with Duke Energy to launch Duke It Out pitch competition, and the City of Bloomington and the Bloomington Urban Enterprise Association to ensure local businesses receive the support they need. And recently, the Federal Laboratory Consortium awarded us for our collaboration with Crane and STEM programming and a course we developed on how to do business with the federal lab. We partnered with the City of Bloomington and the Boys and Girls Clubs to introduce Lemonade Day, launching young entrepreneurs into their first business ventures. And then, of course, there is this luncheon. This event was created to spotlight the vital role of entrepreneurship and innovation in our economy, and to bring you all together. These colliding events, these collaborations, this is where business happens. Over the years, we've welcomed distinguished speakers to share their stories and inspire us. Pete Yonkman inspired me to start wearing Air Jordans. But it wouldn't be possible without our generous sponsors. German American Bank, Cook Medical, Cassidy Electric, Smithville, and Old National Bank. And all of you. Please give yourselves a big round of applause. Your attendance today and your support of Ivy Tech makes a difference. You're supporting student entrepreneurs and Cook Center programs that drive economic growth in our community. 4 out of 5 Ivy Tech grads will stay right here. So, if you're inclined, click the QR code on your table and you can make a donation to Ivy Tech and help further that support. I want to extend my gratitude to the Cook Center staff, led by Steve. This team includes also the legendary Joyce Poling, Troy Phelps, Mandy Miskowitz, Haley Angrick, Heath Murray, and Grant Sherman. So if you guys are here, this wave. On the back. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you have done. And we are all anxiously looking forward to the next 15 years. Additionally, I would like to thank all those who made today possible. Our foundation team of Heidi Schultz and Emma Ferguson, our caterers, and our Ivy Tech facility and support teams who have worked behind the scenes to make today's luncheon a success. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Last year, when introducing Steve Ferguson, I spoke about his competitiveness from our days playing pickup basketball at the Y. As I introduce him this year, I'd like to instead focus on his and Connie's community impact and their efforts to improve the quality of life for all Hoosiers. As chair of the board of Cook Group and president of French Lick Resort, Steve, along with Connie, have been actively involved in the redevelopment and historic preservation of many communities, including the rebirth of downtown Wilmington. They led the renovation and operation of the historic French Lick Resort. In addition to his service in the state legislature, Steve has been elected or appointed to the boards of directors of many organizations, including serving 12 years on the IU Board of Trustees, 4 of those years as president. Steve and Connie have given back to the community and state. The Connie and Steve Ferguson Ivy Tech Community College building that we are all in right now is just one example. Connie has served as our local Ivy Tech board chair for over 25 years and serves on the statewide Ivy Tech Foundation board as well. She's also an honorary degree holder. They support the Wabash College Leadership Scholarship, Ivy Tech Scholarships, Stephen Connie Ferguson International Building in IU Wilmington, and they replaced thousands of trees on campuses following a tornado. In addition, they also support the Steve and Connie Ferguson Boys and Girls Club building and built the first Girls Inc. Club in Wilmington. Steve also dedicated 12 years to coaching basketball at the Boys and Girls Club. They are laser focused on solving workforce housing, ensuring our state has the healthcare workers it will need in the future, how every child should be able to read at grade level, employment opportunities in challenged areas, higher education, and conservation and preservations for our wonderful state. The list goes on. They are a pair of Hoosier legends, a powerful team, and we are incredibly fortunate to have them on our team. Steve will join Governor Daniels on stage following Governor Daniels' keynote address. Follow the bouncing ball. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce yet another Hoosier legend, Dr. Sue Ellspermann. Dr. Ellspermann's career spans decades in public service, from serving as Indiana's 50th Lieutenant Governor and President of the Indiana Senate, to the state legislature and as Indiana's Secretary of Career and Workforce Development. She has a passion for supporting and empowering Hoosiers. An entrepreneur, Dr. Ellspermann founded and led a successful technology-based consulting company for nearly 20 years. And she holds bachelor's degrees in mechanical engineering from Purdue, a master's degree in technology management from Louisville, and a doctorate in industrial engineering from Louisville. But, and by far most importantly, for the past 9 years, she served as Ivy Tech Community College's president. Bringing an entrepreneurial mindset to higher ed, she's seen an Ivy Tech enrollment more than double. Now over 200,000 Hoosiers attend Ivy Tech. She's overseen massive fundraising initiatives and pushes her team to be the best team in higher ed. There is no stretch goal she doesn't love. Yes, those of you that know her are laughing because I hear it all the time. Quite simply, our state would not have been able to leverage its economic potential and attract major investments if not for Sue's vision to leverage Ivy Tech and make workforce development a priority. I've had a front row seat for the past 2 years to her leadership and seen how deeply she cares about all Hoosiers, but especially our students and their success. As she and Jim prepare to head off into their well-deserved retirement this June, please join me in welcoming Dr. Ellspermann to the stage to introduce Governor Daniels.
I would not have done this introduction if I'd known that was coming, but thank you all for being here, and the truth of Connie and Steve Ferguson, what a treasure, what legends, how important to our community, and so many people in this room. So there are not enough kudos and applause to go around. But it is now truly my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Governor Mitch Daniels. Governor Daniels served as a two-term governor for the state of Indiana from 2004 to 2012, and as the 12th president at Purdue University from 2013 to 2022. Boy, learn. He currently serves as a distinguished scholar and senior advisor to the Liberty Fund. He was elected governor in his first bid to any elected office. Now, for some of us who run for office, that is amazing. And then re-elected with more votes than any candidate. Governor Daniels changed Indiana, and I'm going to say a few things because these are what came off the top of my head. Becky, you will have many, many more, but property tax cuts, major moves, IEDC, daylight savings time for all of us, countless other policies which moved Indiana from a flyover state to one of the best business climates in America. He also introduced something called aiming higher to attract new legislators to public office. I might have been one of those. So at Purdue, President Daniels prioritized student affordability and reinvestment in the university's strength. He ended 36 straight years of rising prices by freezing tuition and mandatory fees at the 2012 level, and that freeze is still in place, and there are thousands and thousands of parents who say thank you. He also placed Purdue on the national stage, dramatically increasing intellectual property and patent production, ranking 4th in the nation in 2024, growing STEM programs, and helping attract major new industries to West Lafayette and Indiana. Prior to becoming governor, he served as chief of staff to Senator Richard Lugar, senior advisor to President Ronald Reagan, that I did not know, and director of the Office of Management and Budget under President George W. Bush. He also was CEO of the Hudson Institute and more than a decade as an executive at Eli Lilly. Governor Daniels earned a bachelor's degree from Princeton's Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs and law degree from Georgetown. He is the author of 3 books and contributing columnist to the Washington Post. He and his wife Sherry have 4 daughters and 8 grandchildren. So please join me in welcoming our own Governor Mitch Daniels.
Not unaccustomed to pressure, but there's an extraordinary degree of it weighing on me at the moment. First of all, this room seems to be full of women who have been important in my life. Sue Elsperman, certainly a premier example. My partner for 8 years, and that's the way we always refer to each other. Becky Skillman, somewhere. Finest Lieutenant Governor of our state. Unless business got in the way somewhere, daughter number 1 is in here somewhere. And Megan Neat's known to a few of you. I apparently known all of you. Since everybody I ran into today had something to say about her. And her husband Joel, who enormously fond of our family. Tempted to say something about sons-in-law and free meals. But then the pressure extends to other factors too. I mean, this is Bloomington after all. Now that means my excellent repertoire of IU jokes is out of hand. First presentations I made was at the Chamber of Commerce way back when I was a no-name first-time candidate, and I remember telling to the delight of the audience, really excellent Kentucky joke. But some fellow then at the local newspaper took exception to that, or I think he was looking to take exception to anything I said. Lectured me about my bad taste. So the rest of my public life, I foresaw Kentucky jokes, and boy, it was fun. So we generally, when I've been down here, I try to be a little more somber, a little more dignified. I've had a lot of wonderful opportunities. I do remember one, I think it was over at the university, and on some heavy subject than I want to talk about today. And it was over a nice matronly lady rushed up the stage. James, that was, just loved that. I thought it was fantastic. The speech, she said, it was just superfluous. I heard her. She said, well, will your remarks be published? And I laughed and said, oh, ma'am, if so, probably only posthumously. She said, I do hope that'll be soon. So I don't think I'm going to say anything today that either excites the local newspaper or is all that profound. But I really have looked forward to this. First, for the audience involved. Second, for this fabulous venue, not just for its beauty, but for its aptness, given the topics we were talking about. And so for the subject matter that I've been assigned. I have to start by thinking about Bill Cook. Bill Cook, who personified the qualities and epitomized the qualities of entrepreneurship in a way that very, very few, forget who, Americans have. People like Bill Cook come along only every so often. We were so blessed. He and Gail planted their flag here, did what they did here. You know, entrepreneurship is about the new, about the novel, about that which has not been present in the marketplace before, but we'll get to that. But of course, Bill Cook and Ferguson's just like him. Also, never forgot the importance of preserving the best of what is and bringing it back. And so we all think of French Lake. I remember very vividly the day that I was invited down here to help celebrate what they call Project Phoenix. What's the Phoenix all about? They had a statue I remember out in front, it's rising from the ashes. And they brought back the old Thompson plant here as farming. And then, of course, historic preservation in so many contexts. So it was, reminded me of, even as we always have to have our glance fixed forward, and Bill did, that when you look back, entrepreneurship is not new in the state of Indiana. A century or a little more ago, you could make a case we were the state of entrepreneurism. There were more automobile companies in that era. And automobiles were the silicon, the computers, the internet tools of the last era. And we had more startup automobile companies in Indiana than anywhere else. But for some historical quirks, where Carl Fisher went, how it all happened. What we came to know was Detroit could well have been Kokomo or Indianapolis. To home. We had wildcatters in the energy field. You know, down in Gas City, Indiana. I didn't get that name by accident. We had the Lillies and the Ball brothers. And this has been in our character. We have been inventors and tinkerers and improvers and innovators. And there's no greater calling than what this center does and what people of Ivy Tech are doing and what others of us have tried to do in other contexts. We try to foster both that mentality and the courage that it takes to make that leap. Either trying to create something that wasn't there before. So I hope that the students here study the lives of Stephen Connie Ferguson, the lives of Bill and Gail Cook. I got the question so often, particularly in the 10 years in higher ed. Many times over the years, young people, aspiration, wanting to know about leadership, how to maybe become better at it themselves. And I always told them, read biographies. I never really found too many of those how-to books that I thought were too useful. But study the lives of people who attempted great things, achieved them, sometimes fell short. We learn as much from our mistakes as from our achievements. But there are very few lives that, particularly here, where we live, a young person of any age, could learn more from than the Cooks and the Fergusons. I'm sure that's a part of just the environment here in this wonderful center. You know, stories are so important. Myths, not in the inaccurate sense of stories that are fanciful or fictional. Myths in the sense of stories grounded in truth that teach a lesson are so important in the lives of businesses and in the lives of communities. Bill and Gail in that Bloomington apartment in 1963 somehow fooling around with wires and so forth and inventing what blossomed into a business that revolutionized much of healthcare, saved countless lives, improved them, created jobs and opportunities and better lives for so many people in this area and elsewhere. There is no noble endeavor one can think of. You know, I've been lucky enough by now to have met so many people. There are only so many Cooks and Fergusons, but there are so many people who have done comparable things at other scales and in other. You know what they never have or talk about is their personal success and wealth. It's not what motivated. They want to tell you is there used to be 3 people working over there, and now there's 300. Or, you know, this new product of ours is changing life and changing the world of people. That's what's about it. When I was your employee on the flight, I was visited all the time by people from business, Indiana businesses with their representatives, and almost always, when they were done talking about their issue or the problem they wanted to solve, almost always on the way out, they'd say, hey, now listen, if there's anything we can do to help the state, and I give them the same answer. Yeah, there is. Make money. I want you to make money. I want you to be really good at what you do. Because if you make money, pretty soon you're going to have to hire somebody else to make their life better. And you know, if you make enough money, you'll have some left over to create for those good causes that we all see. But if you don't make any money, you're not much use to us. To be good. Be like Bill and Steve. I know so many people in this room. I want to say a word about the Indiana economy and why this meeting, conceived as it is, held where it is, and with an audience like this, is such a bullseye for what I think needs to happen and what can happen to make a great state even greater. You know, we have so much going for us. We have huge pluses. We have been ranked now for the last 16, 18 years. It's one of the top business climates in the country. It doesn't matter who does it, which magazine, which rating service. We didn't used to be on anybody's list. We have not. There have not been a year since about 2007 when we're not on everybody's list. Usually, we've been the only state not to Sunday. So we are a place that businesses know that if you come here or if you start here, you've got a better than average chance of having some money left at the end of the day. We're not going to tax you as much. We're not going to cost you as much in regulatory and possibly litigation expenses, all these things that I think some short-sighted states do. We have every year CNBC and two of these, ranks the best infrastructures in the country. Number one, every year for the last several. Drove down here on one manifestation of that today. A little grief when we were doing that. And I think people maybe see the pluses and the wisdom of it now. What's missing? There are two missing links, or two weak links, I would say, in our state, the standing between us and just genuine greatness and greater prosperity and quality of life for our 7 million neighbors. One of them is quality of our workforce. I don't have to tell you this, it's written all the time. It's been true for a long time. I remember before I left the public office, Becky will recall, by about 29 or 10, I was given a speech that said that just all that Chamber of Commerce stuff I just listed and more, all these things we got going. The box we're not checking, and that's the talent box, the workforce box. Too many businesses who are worried that they won't find the workers that they need if they come here, or they won't find them in the right numbers. That's where I began. It's just indispensable. You just can't the importance of it, priority we should place on it just can't be overstated. In fact, I think it's more today even than it was then. Because there's clear awareness that bachelor's degree that we used to treat as some sort of necessity, some sort of a passport for a good life, and this essential passport is not legally and really isn't. There are other credentials, there are other ways to learn necessary skills that may not cost so much, will not cost so much, and maybe certainly get somebody to that next step on the ladder more quickly. This is what I do. I've got so many memories about this. But right now here, I was thinking about one night somewhere in Southwest Warrington, and I met a woman, a young, I guess, woman, who Shannon, who was fighting her way to. She had a job at Force. She was fighting her way to that Ivy degree. She said she promised her dad. And I heard this story before, but it always just moved me. And I remember I said, right down, here's the deal. I'll go get elected governor. When you finish that group, I'm going to your graduation. Did. And we had dinner at the log in. I could cite dozens of similar experiences. Just nothing that ever inspired me more than people who were coming, trying to make their way in life, and understood the importance of education, and we just got to get better and better at identifying what needs to be learned, teaching it well, and effectively helping students succeed, get to the finish line, which too many don't. There's just nothing that can make more of a difference. More leveraged activity that we could deliver. I had a great time. You go in the what's called pop-up room, and I talked to folks over there. I had just a great time, talking to Preston about his new HVAC company, and for sure. And Sadie about her ice cream. When you're in Orleans, stop in and buy some ice cream from Sadie's store there. And especially Simone, who came to us from Brazil. That you'll have to go see it to believe it. She makes jewelry out of those little espresso cups, gaily colored cups. You won't believe it. She turned those into earrings and necklaces. Anyway, I asked them all sort of, what did you learn in entrepreneurship? More than one thing, but a common thing was marketing. I knew how to make these things. I knew something about HVAC. I didn't know how to find my customers, how to appeal to them, how to persuade them to work with me, and stuff like that. So skills like that, taught well, efficiently. Marketing is incredibly important. I still remember when I was out there early on campaigning again, back in 03, so I went to and there's a new guy, and there's a elderly fellow next to me. He says, "Well, I better not eat too much. I got a game to say." The game, what kind of game you guys? Softball, 16 over softball. We got a 16 league. We play all summer. I said, "That is great. What a great way to take care of it." I said, "This league of yours, that's interesting." I mean, I said, "How's it operate? Is it like a little league? Do businesses get involved?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Every team is sponsored by a different funeral home."
We're going to switch to go to that.
Okay, we all just missed a good story. You'll have to ask somebody in the front row, or I won't tell them twice. So, upskilling, as I guess the experts call it, so many of our people is so important. You know, one of the things that I feel really good about the last 10 years was we Purdue acquired an online university. We've been trying, I've been trying to get us in the game in terms of effective online education, which just wasn't something we had to do. We weren't good at it. In business, many of you face frequently a make or buy decision. We used to call it really. We try to make it ourselves, or maybe somebody else has already doing it. Maybe we should just bring them in. So that's what we did. What is now called Purdue Global has given close to 80,000 degrees, a high percentage of them to Hoosiers, in a way that I would say is parallel to what I can say. There's nothing I felt better about than watching the typical student at Purdue Global, the median student, say, is a 34-year-old minority working woman. We have all sorts on either side of that, on either end of the curve. But that's the typical. When you go to one of those graduations, you must have this experience so often. It's just you'll get emotional, and I did on frequent occasions. So there's one. The other is ramping up our rate of entrepreneurism, and this one's a hard one too. I can remember on the way into office, we knew what we ought to do about basic business climate. There was a lot to do, but we sort of knew what it was. We knew about taxes, we knew about regulation, we knew about infrastructure, all these other things. And I thought we knew something about how to attract existing business. The question, how do you start more of your own? And that has proven to continue to be a challenge for this state. Our rate of business startups, at least the successful ones, is not as high as it needs to be. It's absolutely essential. Too much of the VC money in this country is still lazy. It's still sitting in high cost structured places. I used to say to my California friends, I said, first of all, if the weather ever changes, y'all are toast. There's no other reason to be here. And secondly, I said what I used to say, I think what I'm going to do when I'm done full-time work, I'm going to start investing in California and New York businesses and then filing shareholder lawsuits, because you're giving away money when you operate there when you could be in a place like us. In Indiana, when anybody talks to you, by the way, about per capita income and so forth, always ask the following question: Are you talking about real income? First, are you adjusted for the fact that things cost 92 cents here compared to a national average 100, compared to 115 in Illinois, for instance? It costs less to do business here, it costs less to live here, and then secondly, are you adjusting for a low level of taxation and how much that worker keeps at the end of the day, as well as how far that money goes when they take it out to spend it. So we've got to find ways to improve that. I appreciated Eric Pursuit us mentioning that at Purdue there's an enormous amount of energy. I know it's the same at IU and elsewhere. young people who would love to start their own thing. They're not against the idea of going to work for somebody else. We've got that impulse. We need to nurture it, and encourage it, and help it. I was having dinner. I'd only been there a short time. I was having dinner, as I did very often, with students, and this happened to be a group of engineering students getting close to graduation, and small talk, how's things going? Oh, great. We just finished our capstone project, and the professor says he thinks it might be patentable. Oh, great. Naively, I said, are you going to patent it? So we can't do that. The university, owns the rights. Now, these are not faculty that we pay. They're not graduate students that we pay. They're paying us. So the next morning, I changed the policy. And I said, from now on, any Purdue undergrad who discovers something, not only will we let them have the rights, we will help them with legalities and so forth, filing. And honestly, I thought it was just one of those symbolic gestures, you're trying to change the culture of a place. As I say, myths matter, stories matter, and sometimes gestures like that matter. No, I was completely wrong. Every year since then, between a quarter and a third, we've had record numbers of startups on our campus. Always one of the top handful of universities in the country. And always, a quarter to a third of those, and some years more, were undergrads. Kids who hadn't even got their first degree yet. So that the energy is there, and we just have to find ways to, as I say, unleash it, assist it, support it every way we can, and that's what you're doing here so wonderful. So, when I ask, what does our state need most to take that next big step? I'm looking at it. And that is people committed to raising the level of human capital, human talent, ability to do the jobs that we need doing in a modern economy, and people who are starting or helping others to start the kind of enterprises, create that kind of opportunity for others. The last time I got a chance to be with Bill Cook, how appropriate was this? A young couple who had met, fallen in love, and gotten engaged working for us in our team, Stake Up, was getting married. And they became the first events ever held in the Central Avenue Methodist Church, one of Bill's and Gail's historic preservation projects. Bill didn't know the couple, but he, in his gracious and I'm sure very cautious way, I guess made inquiry, would they mind if he attended, because he wanted to see how his building had come out. Building, I believe, is now the Indian Landmark Center. It's another great part of the Cook Lakes. And so they did. I think they had a great time. We had dinner after Charity and me, and as part of the wedding, it's the last chance I got to see this great man. I hope many of you, I know many of you, doing many years. But again, I say, especially to the younger people in the audience, if you need any encouragement, go try that idea of yours. To go take that chance that always is a big part of bringing something new, bringing any kind of meaningful change to an institution or a state. Study up on Bill Cook, Steve Ferguson, and all the people that they have brought along. Steve's going to come up here now, and we'll get to the more interesting, I'm sure, part of the program. But I just say that I just finished. I just got done with full-time work. People ask me how that is. I asked somebody times before I stepped out. This guy, the CEO of a big company you've all heard of, said. So we all were curious, what's it like? And he said, well, I'll tell you. He said, on noon of the second day, my wife looked at me and said, what are you doing today? He said, nothing. She said, but that's what you did all day yesterday. He said, I wasn't finished. I'm finished. You'll be happy to know. Please welcome Steve Ferguson.
One of the things that I brought, which I have in my office proudly, is an honorary Boilermaker Award. Purdue University proudly recognizes Stephen L. Ferguson as an honorary Boilermaker. So I very much appreciate that.
Remind me, Steve, the bursar asked me to tell you that we haven't got the tuition.
And I appreciate the Sagamore of the Wabash.
Well,
Very nice recognition.
I was cheap with those, you know. You got one from us. You are as special as you are.
Well, thank you very much. It is very nice recognition. Especially appreciate coming from you. So I had a few questions. I'd have to say that it was rather interesting going on chat and saying you're going to interview Mitch Daniels. The questions were fantastic. Now, they didn't really relate much to what we're talking about today, but boy, were they really good. I'd love to have asked you all those questions, but they're not quite what we were talking about today, but it was really interesting. For any of you to have chat, I recommend you do that. It's really remarkable. You've obviously been in private business and universities and Governor. How does leadership change, if it does, between those various positions?
I think there's more similarities than differences. Obviously you have to try to adapt what you're doing to each mode, but ultimately, positions of high responsibility, there are certain things that are always part of it. It's always about making choices. That's the point of where you are. Somebody has to ultimately reconcile disagreements. Somebody has to decide we'll spend money here and not there. We'll hire more people here, and therefore we can't there. I think, I don't want to change the subject, but I think the nation's COVID experience, if you want a negative example of leadership, just look at how institution after institution, governments, public, private, and others, I thought defaulted on that responsibility. And so that's always there. I always thought that common to all such endeavors was the need to, somebody's got to be able to lift her or his head up and try to look ahead. I used to frequently say, paint a picture. How this business, how this university, how this state can be better. Let's all go there. And then try to get people as excited about that as presumably you are. So those things are all the same. I'll also say, Steve, and I used to get this question a lot in the non-competitive sectors, that is to say, nonprofit and particularly government, the last monopoly we permit, basically. People would say, oh, now you have a chance to do these different jobs. Which ones apply most? And they usually thought I was going to say something out of, I don't know, government or something. No, it's the lessons from business. How do we make ends meet here? How do we live within the organization with the state's means? How do we persuade other people that that's the right course? And how do you get large numbers of people aligned around a common goal and giving you their best effort to deliver it? Those skills, I thought, which I learned some of them the hard way in business, were common, and in some ways were even more valuable in those other sectors where, just to be fair about it, many of the people who rise to leadership haven't had to do that. They haven't had to do what you and Bill and everybody else did to make Cook what it is.
I've always been impressed. You said paint a picture, and I think you've been really good at painting a picture that people can understand of the vision of the future, where we need to go. Uh, and that seems to be something I've noticed about you that differentiates from other people. You know, have you developed that over the years, or?
I think maybe watching, the other way, it's long. Let's talk about reading about great people, and that's certainly available to us all. I was so lucky to work for or in proximity to people of unusual leadership talent. So Ronald Reagan, classic example of someone who could do what you're talking about. It just coincidentally, another one of those reasons I guess I'm a Presbyterian, things just seem to happen. Last night, I'm trying to fill in one of the many gaps in my education. I'm reading Donald Kagan's classic book about the Peloponnesian Wars. And Pericles in Athens defined in 2 sentences. Last night I came across this. He said, the essence of a great leader, he said, I'll get this just slightly wrong. He said, to see what needs to be done and be able to explain it. To love one's country, billions, state, city, business, and be incorruptible. That's it. And I thought, that's pretty well, you had to boil it down to 2 sentences. I can't improve on
Well, you've been sort of a historian of all the entrepreneurs, and you did a really nice job describing Bill Cook. I appreciate that very much. And you happened to be there and for the one time where you got to see it in operation, and that was so important to him. And then he died the second day after that, and did not get to the dedication. But that night for him was really special, and we appreciate you making that possible.
Well, it probably more special for me, and then particularly because it was the last such opportunity.
When you look at the entrepreneurs, why do you think some really succeed, and what's the main reason for failure that you see?
Yeah, I think that. Let me talk about failure of those who ought to have succeeded. I think it's in the nature of this whole endeavor we're talking about that only a minority are destined to succeed. I mean, a lot of the ideas aren't that good, or somebody beat you to them, or But I think, and this is something we've tried to work on. We got to get better. I know at Purdue we realized this was a gap. We had this whole, by the time we've been there a while, this whole suite of support services. But the missing one was people who can take a promising and conceptually valid business idea and scale it and actually operate it. And that is very often, I think this has been commonly understood now, that is very often a different person or a different skill set. The person who had that brilliant insight, took that thing up, Bill Cook was absolutely one of the more unique people in that he could do both. But one thing that this center should do, I know that you probably do it, we're trying to get better at it, is finding people who might not have been the right person to conceive and build that prototype and refine that new winning business concept, but people who can take that and put the right people together to make it bigger and more successful. That is just as hard, I think, as inspiring and helping people to, start up in the first place. While you're looking, I'm just sitting here thinking about the only other person I knew in Indiana in our time, sort of like Bill Cook. I hope they must have known each other. Named Miller, up at the other end of the state, It's the guy who went out, just like Bill and Gail in the department. He's out legendarily on a fishing boat with a friend, sketches the first artificial hip made out of titanium on a piece of cardboard or something, one of those things, and turned it into a biomet and fantastic company. I'll pass along, I always thought it was a useful rule. Dane Miller's 2 rules of committees. So rule 1 is to function effectively, they have to have an odd number of members. Rule 2 is 3 is too many.
That is really, yeah. One of the other, we're talking about what you try and get done and what people try to do. What things do you think lead to failures in your observation?
Well, there are more routes to failure than there are to success, so that's a huge subject. Well, I think, sometimes failure will. Sometimes there are good ideas, whether it's a new business or it's a public policy, where however the idea itself is very, very sound, but people don't have the will or the perseverance to see it through. They get run off by criticism or skepticism, and so forth. I had to learn the hard way or the long way. Eventually, you got to decide to persevere in the face of the inevitable criticism. It's pretty close to a truism that change will always have its enemies. Robert Kennedy said, "Progress depends on change, and change always has its enemies." And that's just true in business too. Any great new business idea is going to disrupt somebody else's business, or replace it, or threaten it. And so there's always going to be back pressure. And so one thing is folks who just can't abide that. That's one of the best pieces of advice I got at an Indiana farm operator up around Muncie told me this one day. I wouldn't get beat on for something. I don't know, Becky. We were always getting beat on, weren't we? And she said, don't tune that out. She said, just remember, dogs don't bark at parked cars. That pretty much, there's folks here who've heard me say that. I mean, that pretty much became our motto. I used to tell our people, listen, we're not parking the car. If that's the right idea, if that's the right project, years from now we won't remember the noise. People will just all feel good about what we did. So that's certainly one thing. I already mentioned one, which is that sometimes the skill set to come up with that great new idea is not the one to take it on further. But we should never badmouth mistakes. One time I made a big one in working in a White House, and I felt terrible about it, because then you not only yourself, but you feel like you let down the side. And Malcolm Baldrige, who was the Secretary of Commerce, the Baldrige Award remains the nation's premier award. I think they still give it for quality in business. Really hard to get. And he knew I was down, and he came over to me, and we were in the cabinet room there, and he said, look, he said, buck up, bud. He said, just remember, good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. And anybody who's been in business or anywhere for a while knows that.
I've got one more question I want to hear the answer to.
He's got your name on it.
Well, I think you're the best person I know to answer this question. But we're in a sea of change. AI, governmental structure worldwide. Everything we touch, and every day at Cook, there's something new. You used to address it and say, oh, this is going to be a 6-month or 6-week fix, and now there's one every week. As these entrepreneurs, as we look forward, how's the world going to change, and how do they need to change to face this ever-changing world?
Well, you can face it or you'll make it. None of us knows, I sure can't, I'm not capable of seeing a year from now the reasons you just gave, let alone a longer term future than that, further into the future than that. This is not the note I would like to end on, but give you a straight answer. I do believe, regrettably, hope to be wrong, that we will probably, somewhere in the next decade maybe, go through a fairly wrenching change in this country. These happen. None of us has lived through it, but our ancestors did. In fact, our parents, most of us did. I'm talking about war, terrible economic cataclysm, or who knows. And I think the chances of that, particularly given the fiscal corner we've painted ourselves into federally, which could trigger either of those other kind of events. There's opportunity in that. On the backside of no one wishes for such a cataclysm, but on the backside of that, the societies have reshaped themselves, rebuilt themselves better than before, and I believe, I've been saying to young audiences lately, I think the odds are better than even that theirs will be the generation that has to either lead this society to a new and better set of institutions and structures, maybe economic arrangements, maybe governmental arrangements. I've met enough of those young people that I'm counting on them. I think they will. So I wouldn't welcome the difficulty that I think is coming, but if it comes, there'll be huge opportunity for young people or people of any age with an entrepreneurial engineering. So how do we fix this mindset than normal times, even normal times provide? So
Thanks for your leadership.
thanks for having me.
Well, thank you all for coming. The QR codes are still active. We're right on time. And just want to say thanks to everybody. Thanks to Governor Daniels. Thanks to Steve, Sue, for being here. Becky for being here. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. April 8th is Ivy Tech Day. So get up for it. Thanks very much.